Hey friends, it's Lauren. Thanks for joining me back in my craft room today. I have a fun video. I'm using some products from Kindred stamps. I believe I'd say like half of them you can still get, but a lot of what I'm using was in a limited edition bundle. And I'm just going to walk you through what I've already die cut, and I'll talk more about it as I go throughout this video. But I cut down some fun pattern paper to A2 in size, and I die cut this rectangle out of some pool blue, kind of oceany looking paper. And then I die cut the top of it with one of my waves dies. And then using the ocean scene craft die and the same rectangle, I die cut out kind of like an ocean floor that I'll be ink blending on. I also have this adorable oh my goodness, pineapple house that came in the Underwater Buddies limited edition kit. So it is no longer available, and I'm so sorry. Um, but I have a tendency to only use what's new because I obviously here like to share things that you can still purchase. But I tend to forget about what I have in my stash. So I like to use Craft Roulette, especially as a way to use what's in my stash. So um, I'm going to be using this adorable Fandom Underwater Buddies kit. So I also die cut out a banner that I'll stamp my sentiment on, and I already stamped my two fandom characters that I will be coloring later on in the video. But let's move on to the actual card process. So up first, I'm going to be stenciling with this awesome stencil that also came in the Underwater Buddies limited edition set. I'm so sorry. Um, they're these like really cool flowers that are very reminiscent of the show that this fandom set is based on. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to add these flowers. There's like 5 flowers total on the stencil, and I'm only going to use the 4 larger ones. And I am stenciling it onto, like I said, that pool colored pattern paper, and that is for one of the parameters of Craft Roulette this past Friday. And it was to have something that rhymes with ool. So I went with the pool blue pattern paper for that element. And I'm masking off everywhere except for the 2 flowers that I'm going to stencil first. And I'm going to be using some lunar paste. If you're, not new here, you know how much I love my lunar paste. And for one of my flowers, I'm using Shooting Star. And I only masked the flowers that I will be stenciling on further over to the right. And I didn't mask the stencil that I will be using with a different color. So I'm being super careful here to not just make both of those flowers yellow. I got a little close, so I'm just using my finger to wipe that up and then just wiping my fingers on a towel. This is how I get ink everywhere. I craft messy. And then I grabbed the No Diving Simon Hurley Lunar Paste. These are from Ranger, but in collaboration with Simon Hurley, and adding that to the second flower. So let's carefully peel off this stencil and all of this mint tape. And you can see I smudged a little bit with my yellow, but that's okay. I still think it looks really cool. So I went and washed my stencil and my palette knives. I scooched my stencil over, actually flipped it over, and I masked off the areas that I didn't want to get more paste on, being careful not to smudge the 2 that I already did. And I added that No Diving again, and then brought in purple, which is Crown Me from Ranger and Simon Hurley Lunar Paste. And I went ahead and cleaned off my stencil because I like to make sure my stencils don't get like gunky with stencil paste over time. And I layer that with another sheet of my Underwater Buddies paper pack, which you can purchase. That is available at the Kindred store. That really cool like purple and green pattern. And I'm setting that aside to dry. And while that's drying, we're going to do a lot of ink blending. I'm starting with my pineapple house, and I am going to be distressing my pineapple in very pineapple-y colors, but there's holes that are cut out from the pineapple, you can see right there. And so I kind of just traced my pineapple loosely on a piece of, I'm using mixed media cardstock, and then cut it out so that way it would fit just behind my pineapple. And I used brush corduroy and wild honey to color that piece that I cut to be the back of my pineapple. And then my actual pineapple itself, I used scattered straw, mustard seed, and wild honey. And my another element from craft roulette is to have columns. So my pineapple has column details on it. They might be a little slanted, but they look like columns to me. So that is how I met the columns requirement. And I glued that backing piece to the back, and it's super inky still. That Distress Oxide really sits on top of the paper, so I need to let it dry. So I just glued those two pieces together, and it's drying. Now, you might notice I'm a little zoomed in and I'm a little sideways because I bumped my camera and did not realize it until quite a while. So sorry for this weird angle and for all the times you're going to see my pajama shorts, but it's fine. We're going to continue on. And I've die cut a bunch of leaves from that die set to be the crown, the leaves of my pineapple. And I'm coloring all of those with Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn, and trying my best to kind of create a nice blend between those two colors. And those I will glue to the top back of my pineapple. So once they're all done, I'm just going to add some glue right to the backside of my pineapple, and then I will start with the largest leaf. So there's like one big leaf and two smaller leaves in the die set, and they both kind of like angle opposite directions. And I'd only cut 3 out, but I was looking at it and I knew I needed more to make it look a little bit more full. So I die cut 2 more of the smaller leaves. So that's why I have 5 total. So I started with gluing the largest one in the center, and then I took one each of those leaves. Like I said, they kind of angle in different ways, and glued those down. And then I will overlap the other 2 behind those. I'm going to add a little bit more glue. I'm going to realize right here that I didn't put the glue high enough for my leaf to stick. So you can see adding more glue to the back and then trying to center these other leaves kind of in between the openings there. More columns of leaves for my parameter, I guess. So there you can see the top of my pineapple, and it looks so cute. I love it. I'm going to clean off everything and wash my hands because I just have yellow everywhere and green. And for the details of my pineapple house, there's a little door and kind of like porthole windows. And I did the same thing. I traced the windows and the door so I could have a backing to them. And so the door and the porthole windows, the outside circle, I added tumbled glass. And then the inside circle, as well as all of the backings that I traced and cut out, are colored with Uncharted Mariner. And again, all of these are distress oxides. And I know I'm using a lot of different inks. You could definitely do all of this die cutting out of colored cardstock. I guess I just really felt like playing with my inks today, or at the time of filming this video. I just wanted to have some fun ink blending and color matching to my fandom inspiration for this card. But I love that, you know, these dies are so easily to, you could just cut them out of colored cardstock. And I'm gluing my door together and added that to the bottom center of my pineapple house. And then I will glue my 2 windows together. I'm adding that backing piece to the larger circle first. And then I decided to make things a little easier on myself by grabbing my jewel picker, the little waxy end. I will add glue to the center of my porthole window and then add that center in, which I realize that I don't really need to add that inner part because my backing was already blue, but I liked that it would have just kept everything kind of flush in the same level because there's 2 layers of cardstock glued together. And the die set comes with 1 porthole window, but I cut out 2 again, trying to match the fandom, and I glued those windows down to my pineapple. And that will finish off my little pineapple house. So I'll set that aside, let that ink finish drying. It's so cute. I love it. Now I'm going to move on to my ocean floor, and I'm going to mask off the 2 pieces of sea life, so like kind of the seaweed and the coral that you'll see behind my pineapple house. I definitely could have just cut off those 2 pieces now, but I'll do it later. And I'm going to be using this time antique linen and tea dye to color my ocean floor. And right now I am using my waffle mat kind of stencil mat. This is my first time using it. I got it because I saw that the grip mat that I use very often from Waffle Flower in I believe it's 6.5 by 8.5. It's supposed to fit on this little mat. So I haven't tried them together yet, but you'll see that in a future video. But I really like how small it is and that it fits just really easily on my desk and it's super easy to clean. So I'm excited to try it with the grit mat and see how it goes. But anyway, so back to my coloring. I'm all done adding my sandy floor. So I decided to just kind of color these 2 pieces, this seaweed and coral, with Uncharted Mariner because I wanted it to look like it was far away, like it's just kind of in the background of my ocean scene. And I thought it would look nice being a dark blue, blending in with the ocean background, the pool blue ocean background that I have. So my background is now dry, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this panel to my purple and green kind of pattern panel, and I'm centering it to the sides and bottom of that die cut triangle. So there's going to be a little bit more of that purple pattern showing at the top because I die cut that wavy part. And the stencil paste was dry, but I just was being extra careful because I've known to push too hard on my stencil paste even though it seems dry and then I smudge it. So just being extra careful. And I'm grabbing some thinner foam adhesive to pop up my ocean floor scene. And I also took the time to cut down and add a few pieces behind my seaweed and the coral. I just wanted to make sure that they were a little bit more stabilized and adhered to my background because I was afraid that they would just tear right off very easily. You could avoid that step if you just glued it down directly to your background, but I popped it up. I'm also adding some foam adhesive behind the top of my pineapple house. I didn't add it to the bottom where I know it's going to overlap with that ocean floor kind of border I made. So I'm centering my pineapple to the card and then making sure that my foam adhesive is above that sea floor, and I just add a little bit of wet glue to just make sure that I did it again, that pineapple is attached to the bottom. And this is when I realized my camera was crazy crooked, so I readjusted and we're back to normal. So my card assembly is actually almost done. So we're going to stamp my sentiment. I took my sentiment strips. This is one of like the basic dies from Kindred stamps, and I cut the second smallest, so the second in 4 of the sentiment banners, and I used my Rabbit Hole Designs anti-static tool, and I'm stamping my sentiment that says "You make me feel like a star" with some blue ink. This is Belle VersaFine Clair pigment ink. I can use it to emboss, so I have all the VersaFine Clairs. I love them so much. They're perfect for sentiments. And I'm going to grab my tweezers to hold my banner in place while I add in this beautiful shimmery blue embossing powder. It also was in the Underwater Buddies limited edition kit, so sorry that that's not available, but It's a very pretty blue metallic, and I'm sure you could find something similar out there in the crafting world. So once I had all my powder on, I went ahead and used my heat gun on the higher setting to melt that embossing powder down. And once it had cooled, I'm going to add it to my card. So I'm going to just add some foam adhesive to the left and the right of my banner. It's going to overlap my pineapple. So I'm just adding liquid adhesive to the center, and you'll see here I'm just using my grid to help me get it centered and adding it towards the top of my pineapple. Now I've gotten pretty far along and I still haven't prepared my two little fandom characters, so let's go ahead and zoom in. I am going to speed up this part a little bit more because I do take a long time to color, and I edited out any breaks in between where I'm trying to pick my colors out. And I will say I was kind of winging it here with picking out my colors. So I will talk about each one of them, but I don't know if I love my starfish character completely, but it's okay. So the colors that I'm using are G130 as kind of the darker tone, GY7 as the mid-tone, and then I had used G020 as the lighter. Now for my purple, I have V060 as the darker tone and V050 as the lighter. I only use 2 shades for these little purple details. I realized I forgot a leg, so I'll color that real quick. And I do try to normally stick to 2 color combinations unless I have a very wide open space. I'll bring in 3, sometimes 4, depending on what I'm coloring. But for the inside of the mouth, I just used 2 colors. I have R8 as the darker part of the mouth and R12 as his tongue. And now another color set I'm not thrilled with. So the first was the green, and now it's the pink of my starfish, but he still turns out pretty cute. So I use R23 as the darker color of my starfish. And I think my medium tone was a little off, or maybe this one was, I don't know, but I brought in R120 and I thought that it looked really good, but I think it was a little too dark to completely color in my starfish. I should have stopped like here-ish and then grabbed a lighter color, but I just kept coloring and coloring and completely colored him in. It looked a little blotchy and I wasn't really thrilled, but I brought in R21 to try to like peach him up a little bit more. And again, it just was looking darker, and he's not really this dark if you know this fandom, but it's okay. We're going with it. I brought back in R23 and I just added some stippling, just trying to help recover, and it's fine. I think it looks great. It looks a little dark here and it will dry back a little bit. When I take photos, you'll see the difference. But he has a little bit more red pink than I was going for, but with the white highlights, I think it helps. So now moving on to my sponge character. I'm using NG09 as the black of his shoes and just in one color. And then the sponge is Y050 as my darker tone. And then I will bring in Y040 as my medium tone. I only use these 2 for his hands, arms, legs, and the side of his spongy body. But when I color in his face, I will bring in that lighter color. And fun fact, did you know that those little porous parts of the sponge could be called porous pockets? So that's how I have a card with pockets, which is one of the craft roulette elements, is because of those little porous pockets that he has. So after I'm all done coloring in these 3 shades, again, that was Y050, Y040, and Y030, I will add Y7 to shadow in those little porous pockets and then bring back out Y050 to color them in. I'm going to use the same color combination for the inside of his mouth, R8, and for the tongue, R12. And then I wanted to pinken up his cheeks a little, so I grabbed R21 and just adding, some pink right in that little area that was drawn in for the character. For the whites of the shirt and also his socks, I'll grab that later. I use CG200, and then his brown shorts are BR1 and BR2. And then finally his red tie, I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to start actually with the lighter color and then bring in the dark one. So I started with R070 and then R150 to darken the tie up. I'm also going to grab my white gel pen and color any areas where I went out of the lines. Of course, little dots for the cheeks, just like I did with my starfish. And then just adding some random highlights where I think they'll look nice on the rest of this character. Once I'm all done adding in my white gel pen, I'm going to grab in my scissors. These are from Spellbinders. These are green. I have old ones, but you can get these scissors in a gray color now, and they are my favorite scissors for fussy cutting. So I went ahead and cut my two little characters out. And they're the last to get on the card. So I'm going to figure out placement, make sure I'm happy with where they're going to go. And then I'll grab my foam adhesive to add foam behind both of my characters. So I'm going to make sure not to add foam where it could possibly overlap my blue background, because I just want it to adhere to the pineapple and the brown sandy ocean floor. So just added foam to my starfish, and then I'll add foam to my little spongy character, and then that will finish off my card. So the only thing left that I didn't really talk about for Craft Roulette was to use fresh and clean inspired colors, and I feel like my sponge really nails that fresh and clean, but I tried to go with lighter, brighter, clean looking colors, I guess. Like, I don't know, it feels fresh and clean to me, and I hope it does to you too. And again, I'm so sorry that a few of my items are no longer available, but of course, anything that I could find, you know I have it linked down below for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!